Okay, let's go.
We have some breaking news. I know, Craig, you said we have some breaking news as well.
NASCAR Kyle Busch, 41 years old. They just announced that he's passed away.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring up the story right now, but that's the same one that I got. 41 years old, Kyle Busch has passed away, and we will try to get the information out to you guys. As
he won 234 races across 3 different, the Cup, the truck and the cars, 63 Cup races, including the Coca-Cola 600. So this is big.
It says NASCAR said Kyle Busch was hospitalized as a result of a severe illness.
That doesn't say what it does.
On behalf of the Busch family, everyone at Richard Childress Racing, and all of NASCAR, we are devastated to announce the death and tragic passing of Kyle Busch. NASCAR said in a statement, "Our entire NASCAR family is heartbroken for the loss of Kyle Busch, future Hall of Famer. Kyle was a rare talent who comes along once in a generation. He was fierce, he was passionate, he was immensely skilled, and he cared deeply about the sport and fans." So for those of you who are just joining us tonight, we just have late breaking news that Kyle Busch, 41 years old, NASCAR champion, multi-time NASCAR champion, has passed away at the age of 41 years old.
That sucks.
It does. Yeah. It's a tough way to start. Let's get into some Big Blue Nation news that has come across the wire today. The University of Kentucky made what could be one of the most significant structural changes in the future of UK athletics, and frankly, this may be much bigger than simply replacing Mitch Barnhart. Today, the University of Kentucky officially announced that Mitch Barnhart's replacement will not simply carry the title of athletic director. Instead, the new leader will hold 2 titles simultaneously: athletic director and chief executive officer of Champions Blue LLC. And if you're sitting at home thinking, wait a minute, what exactly is Champions Blue? For those of you who don't know, you're probably not alone. Champions Blue is essentially UK's new business and operational structure created to give Kentucky greater flexibility in the rapidly changing world of college athletics. UK has described it as a model intended to create additional revenue streams, manage costs more efficiently, and position Kentucky for the future of NIL, athlete compensation, media rights, partnerships, and potential new business opportunities. Let's break down these what these 2 jobs actually mean. Obviously, what we are hearing now, as opposed to what we heard 2 weeks ago, Craig, is that this is not going to be 2 separate positions. That is going to be essentially one person. President Eli Capilouto had said many times that he was considering, after his listening tour, as he called it, to determine if they were going to have 2 individuals. But it doesn't appear that's what's going to happen now. The athletic director responsibilities will have oversight of all UK athletic programs, coaching, hires, and evaluations, maintaining NCAA and SEC compliance, fundraising and donor relationships, student athlete success and academics, competitive success across all sports. But the new part is the CEO role. CEO of Champions Blue responsibility will be developing new revenue streams, managing major financial operations, overseeing athlete compensation structures, coordinating NIL and revenue sharing system, working with corporate partners and media rights groups. Boy, this is a lot. And potentially developing public-private partnerships and business investments. In other words, UK is basically saying this: the next athletic director cannot simply be a sports administrator anymore. They have to function like a sports commissioner and a Fortune 500 executive all rolled into one. President Eli Capilouto said today the leadership role must change and adapt. And that quote may tell you everything you need to know, because in the NIL era and with direct athlete revenue sharing now becoming reality, college athletics is becoming closer to professional sports every single year. It is professional sports, for lack of a better term. And now let's get into the names that are discussed. We'll mention those names shortly. John, as a graduate of the University of Kentucky, your thought, and a big follower of UK sports, just like Craig and I are, your thoughts on this news coming out about this new position?
If we are the cutting edge of sports, it is professional sports. I mean, college athletics, calling them amateurs, calling them kids, that's all kind of a stretch anymore. I mean, if you're getting paid millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or dollars to be paid, you're a professional athlete. And I mean, I agree with University of Kentucky going this route. Like I said, I think last time I was on, I said, hiring Billy Donovan more as a general manager would be a great idea there. Um, looking at it being a Fortune 500 company, that's exactly what that chief executive officer of Champions Blue is going to be. It's going to be, like you said, different revenue streams. It just, as a alumni and as a lifelong UK fan, it's difficult to see it go this route. But if it's going to go this route, which it seems it's going to, I think we need to be at the very, the forefront of it. We don't need to watch everybody else do it and us try to play catch up. I think it's something we need to dive into and get the most qualified people out there to do it. But as a lifelong UK fan, it's hard to see it.
Craig, does this make sense now that we've heard in the last couple of days that Mark Pope says I'm not going to hire a GM? Is that because the football team and the basketball team may have had these conversations, knowing that this new role was going to be coming into play? So you can say I'm not hiring a GM because we have people who are going to be doing this in those roles for the university.
And it could be that the new person that takes this job, they're no longer going to be immersed in athletics only. They're going to have to be a CEO of a company with a business degree from Harvard and maybe a law degree to understand all the ins and outs of this, not to break the NCAA rules. This is going to be a tough job at one of the biggest schools and the biggest basketball program in the country. And it's going to be so hard to do. I'm glad they're only putting it under one, because remember, they were talking about doing it with 4 different people
right
at one time. And when they got it down to 2, I said, well, that's good. And now that they've got it down to 1, it's going to be a full-time job. And this guy's going to make some serious bucks to make sure UK doesn't violate the rules and get enough money to pay these athletes to come to UK.
Well,
what rules are there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't even.
That's to be defined.
Yeah,
to be defined.
I will tell you, the names that have been thrown out there right now, the most frequently mentioned name, and John, we may have talked about this last time you were here. Jeremiah Dickey from Boise State. He has surfaced publicly so far as the main name that we've heard about. Previously, KSR's Justin Rowland reported Dickey as a name to watch. He's viewed as energetic. He's a big fundraiser and modern administrator with aggressive branding ideas. I don't think he fits the required need at this point. I mean, I think you're going to have to bring somebody in, and I'm just going to throw a name out here. He's not linked to anything, but you're going to have to bring in a guy like a Theo Epstein, a guy that ran, the Boston Red Sox and then ran the Cubs, won World Series championships for both of them. But he was the general manager at a very young age. It's hard to believe. I think he's like 51 or 52. He's still very young. But you're going to have to bring in somebody that has pro sports and business experience that went to Harvard or Yale or the University of Michigan or one of these, big universities that has a great business program. And Kentucky has a good business program. Don't get me wrong. But you're going to have to bring in somebody with some real cred.
It's going to have to be a Wall Street executive. It's going to have to be somebody with a Harvard degree, because if we don't get out ahead of it, it'll leave us in the dust like it's been doing the last couple of years. And it just cannot be somebody from a Boise State or a West Texas University. It's got to be a CEO of a top 200 company in the United States to run this as a business, no longer as an athletic program. It's got to be run as a business.
Well, and that's the thing, is that there are large corporations that are pro sports entities. I mean, you can find a general manager that has run a sports entity that knows how to handle these things from both ends. And that's why I think you have to look at one of these general managers for baseball who handles huge contracts. You're going to have to find somebody that perhaps was, in the NFL, higher offices, things of that nature. But, one of the interesting things is some social media discussion is focused on whether UK could elevate someone already deeply familiar with the structure Barnhart built. I don't think you can do that either at this point.
No.
There is nobody there that you could elevate to that role. And at Dwayne Peavy or anyone else, you can't hire within if this is the new standard that you're going to require. And you wouldn't have hired Mitch Barnhart if this was the standard. 25 years ago. So you're going to have to look at external candidates that you would have never thought about, and you're going to have to pay them, because these general managers at these athletic uh, these major pro sports teams, they make good money and they have
Yeah,
good perks, and they live in places like Miami and New
right.
York and places like that. So you have to make it worth their while to come down here. But what a big splash it would be if you went after, one of these young guys who has or ladies who has been very successful in their field already, and they're looking for, a new area where they could thrive. John, your thoughts on how this affects basketball in the upcoming year? And I'll be honest, Craig and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. We're a month away from Mitch Barnhart being done. A month.
Right.
And we don't have a top 3 candidates at this point. We're essentially just putting out the LinkedIn description today, and we have to have somebody in a month. What are we going to do?
Again, it's kind of been indicative of the University of Kentucky program the last couple of years to kind of not lead, kind of all of a sudden take a second step back, and talking about looking for somebody like this. So this is a new type of person that the whole country is going to be looking for. So, you're going to have the same thing at North Carolina, at Kansas, at Tennessee, at Florida. They're all going to end up having this type of a person there. And if this is a new type of person coming through that will be looked at differently, if it's coming from the pro leagues, I think that's a given. I think it has to come from the pro leagues if you're going to deal with pro players. Now, I think the players are going to have to realize that they're not just kids anymore. You show up to campus, you're expected to produce. And that's not fair to a lot of 18 and 19-year-old kids. But I think if the overall goal is for them to come in, if they're a freshman phenom to come in, play, go to the NBA, or if they're designed to be here 4 years and transfer that 5th year, we've got to have somebody out there that can say, look, I know you're a 5th year senior and you're coming from, Ball State, but you're going to come here. You've done wonderful. Here's the trajectory of this. And I think if we can be a example, and which as a University of Kentucky, we should be, especially in basketball, I think we can be the example that other people are trying to set. And if we can take off and do it, there's just been this over all of college athletics, there's been a big pushback on hiring people from the professional ranks. And I think that's because we've always seen it never work. But this is not the same time as it was bringing those. It's just not. Those coaches now coming down they are coaching a professional team.
Right.
I mean, I think U of L's they all made fun of us last year at 22 million. I've heard it's 31.5 million.
Yeah, we've been talking about that, John.
I said to Greg that it's
blowing it away.
It's like
if they didn't learn from Big Brother, please, little brother, listen to us. And again, they may win it, but it's hard to put that team together and just keep adding players on there.
I said it's like Scrooge McDuck had backed up the Brinks truck up at Louisville. I don't know if I didn't know Scrooge McDuck was a.
And the more you pay this year, you're going to have to pay more next year. If the top 5 guy gets $5 million this year, next year they're going to expect 6.
Let me throw Let me throw 3 names at you. They're all basketball, and I think football and baseball GMs have to be considered as well. But I'm going to throw 3 names at you right now. The first one is Brad Stevens with the Boston Celtics. Great basketball mind. Was the coach up there for a long time, now the general manager. Brad Stevens is somebody I think, we had talked about him coming to Kentucky at one time as a basketball coach. Then the next name that I'll throw out there is Pat Riley. I mean, Pat Riley coming home.
He's too old.
Well, he's
How
old.
old is Pat Riley?
106. I don't know. I mean,
I'll look it up.
He's old, but I'm telling you, Pat Riley still makes aggressive moves, and he's got a team around him, and he's still got good hair, and he's got a nice tan, and he's Kentucky royalty. Let's be honest. I mean, what better way to come back and maybe build the program for 3 years?
He's 81.
81. That's 81. You could be president at 81 these days.
Absolutely. There's dudes entering the Senate. There's guys running the Senate at 81. That's a baby. It's
a lot colder up here than it is in Miami.
81. Well, he can spend some time down there. 81's the new 75. It's not even a big deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's a young 81, just like the other guy you mentioned.
Yeah. Now let me throw this one at you, Craig, and I think this one will get you excited. What if you go with a guy like, say, Sam Presti? the GM
that'd be
for
awesome.
the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
He's 48 years old. He has essentially constructed one of the craziest rosters ever, and
Great
it will
roster.
remain a great roster for the next 10 years
Right.
thanks to everything he's doing. They say he's a business savant, that he understands, dollars and cents, and he's running a professional ball club, one of the best one there is in Oklahoma City, and he has
Right.
all sorts of promotional deals and everything, and they're one of the most popular ones in Oklahoma City. Lexington, Kentucky would be easy after you've done that in Oklahoma City. You bring in
Right.
a guy like Sam Presti, who has managed big names, big contracts, big ideas. Not a terrible idea. John, your thoughts?
It's a great idea. The only problem is I bet if you asked him and said, okay, now we need you to do football too.
Yeah,
And
right.
we also got to have you do volleyball, and we got to have you do baseball. I worry as far as that last, on the screen, the last thing there of UK athletics director.
Yeah.
That's going to be very difficult to tell him, hey, you've done basketball, but hey, you can also do this too. So, I think that's going to be a difficult, bridge, especially when you're looking at overall sports. I know you got assistant ads and you got people like that can do it, but I think you're going to have a visionary. You're going to have an idea man that has ideas, and some of them may not work.
You know what his contract salary is? $4 million. I think we could pay him 10.
Sure.
And say, hey, can you do football and the minor sports too?
Well, listen.
He would just hire staff to do football.
Yeah,
he would take care of basketball.
But is that fair to us? For us to have hiring somebody to do football? Should we not have somebody that comes? Because if you hired somebody that's from the football ranks, let's just say Nick Saban. Let's say you hired Nick Saban to come in and handle football. Imagine telling him that, okay, what about baseball and basketball too? I think it would be like one of those commercials. He would just walk out with the duck. He would just literally walk out and be like, no, Affleck, I'm not doing it. So I think that would be the issue.
I'm looking up Mitch Barnhart's salary now. I bet it's in the $8 million range.
We do have people that are saying everybody that we named is not an option. But
Barnhart's only $1.425 million.
But I think that's changing. That's part of a contract deal. I think that it's interesting because people say none of these names are realistic. No, nobody's done this. No school has ever done this before.
No school in the whole NCAA is doing what Kentucky is getting ready to do.
Right.
We're the guinea pig on this. And to get somebody of quality that we want, or the fan base will go nuts,
Yeah.
We're going to have to pay up to get them.
Well, we need to be first. We don't want to have the picked-overs. We want to be first if we're going to find that, because there's not very many people that can pull this off right now. That over the years, there's going to be people that will come out that will be good at this in 5 or 6 years. But do we want to wait 5 or 6 years to get the 1 or 2 people in the country that can do this now?
We can't afford to wait.
Well, as the great Reese Bobby said in Talladega Nights, if you ain't first, you're last.
You're last.
Right? Yeah. So you might as well get on board with it. Let's stay at the University of Kentucky. While much of the attention in Lexington is centered around basketball and the athletic director search, Kentucky football has been quietly putting together one of the more surprising recruiting runs in the country. And it seems like every time I open up X, or my text messages with my guys, there's a ton more that are popping up. Kentucky is suddenly becoming one of the hottest stories in college football recruiting, while the national spotlight has been elsewhere. Will Stein and his staff are quietly building a top 10 class, according to some recruiting services, and are tracking toward a top 15 to top 20 national finish across the major composite rankings. Kentucky's recruiting momentum has accelerated dramatically over the last month, and industry observers are openly describing the Wildcats as being on a recruiting heater. And today, the Wildcats added another piece. Kentucky landed a commitment from Kelsey Gerald, a talented running back out of Boynton Beach, Florida. Gerald chose Kentucky over offers and interest from other programs, including Florida State, Indiana, and others. Recruiting services have highlighted his explosiveness and track speed background. He's a state finalist. I think he runs this weekend in the state finals down in Florida. A Florida State track.
Yeah.
That's not running.
He's a speed demon.
Right.
He's a speed demon.
Yeah. The significance here is bigger than just adding a running back. Kentucky is now continuing a pattern we've seen under Will Stein, where that recruiting Florida and the West Coast aggressively is the pattern. For years, Kentucky built its roster primarily through Kentucky, Ohio, and Tennessee, especially through Mark Stoops and his Ohio contacts. Stein appears to be casting a much wider net into talent-rich areas across the South. Another recent major addition was Miles Brown, a 4-star defensive back from Tennessee. Brown chose Kentucky over programs including Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Louisville. And many recruiting analysts viewed that as a very important head-to-head recruiting victory for the Wildcats involving Louisville and Tennessee. KSR's Adam Luckett noted Kentucky has added wave after wave of commitments recently, and recruiting analysts have repeatedly pointed out something that jumps off the page. Kentucky isn't just collecting bodies anymore, as we've done in the past. They're landing more top 100 and top 500 caliber players than many expected. But let's bring it into the big picture. Because the story isn't just about the 2027 class, it's the overall direction of the program under Will Stein. For the 2026 roster, Kentucky attacked the transfer portal aggressively with a focus on speed and offensive playmakers. And this is the current rankings on the transfer portal coming in to the 2026 football season. And Kentucky is now sitting in the top 10
Hard to believe.
transfer portals. And, listen, we've had good recruiting classes. We've had decent recruiting classes in the past, and they have started out with we're ranked 8th or 9th, and then all of a sudden we're 15th. The next thing you know, we're 31. Kentucky has continuously been in this 7 to 11 range in all the major rankings that they've done. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of 5 stars that are there, but there's a lot of 4 stars, a ton of 3 stars that are coming in, and now they're talking about Kentucky having one of the best offensive lines in the entire SEC coming into this year. I mean, John Schlarman is happy. He's looking down on us and he's smiling. Losing John Schlarman, a phenomenal human being, but losing him destroyed any chance of Kentucky being competitive because he was the big blue wall, the guy who led that big blue wall and coached them up to where they are. Now they're saying that we have 5 of the best offensive line starters in the country. Your guys' thoughts on where Kentucky is right now in the football realms, and can we keep this going?
Go ahead, John.
I mean, you got Will Stein. He's one of the top 3 play callers in the country. That's been said by most analysts, by most teams. So, it's not surprising at all. I think most of us that are UK football fans had seeing that Stoops was a defensive coordinator. We have always struggled to see an offense because we change offensive coordinators, it seems, every year, because if there's something going on in the offense, Stoops didn't have the ability to be like, look, we need to do this, we need to do that. He just didn't have that ability. I don't know if he had it on offense or defense for that matter, but on offense he didn't. And I think with Stein, you've got a top play caller. And I think when these kids are coming out of high school, they're all about Twitter. They're all about seeing who's calling this, who's doing that, what camps has Will Stein been at, what all-star things has he been at, and all that stuff matters. And Kentucky, we're on an upswing. I mean, we've got a new coach. We're going to have new money put towards it. We're going to, you've got, tickets this year went up amazingly for season tickets, but
facilities,
you got new facilities, you got everything in there. So you've got the ability right now to get people in here. And, I mean, we start off with Alabama in the SEC, I believe. And that's, we'll see. But, that would be, I mean, a lot of people have predicted that's going to be his first SEC win is going to be over Alabama. I mean, I hope that's not the measuring stick from which we use as his success or not, because being a lifelong UK fan, I just hope they keep it, just don't get blown out.
Yeah, exactly.
But seeing that the expectation of having the top 10 of the classes, having more people out there, the expectation grows. And I think the issue we always had before was, why would you come to Kentucky if you can go to Alabama or Auburn or all those? Well, now when you add money to it, it helps. And I think when you add in talent, it helps as well.
Let me pose this question, y'all. We're actually excited for this recruiting class.
Yeah.
It's the best one we've had, on paper in many, many years. So pose this question. We're landing them on football. We are not landing them on basketball. Is it just because of the coach?
Well, I think, look, one of the things that being a fan of Kentucky has allowed me to do is it has allowed me to see a lot of different coaches and coaching staffs come through, not only in football, but basketball as well. And, Will Stein's the fresh new thing, he's hot. Everybody likes it. Everybody wants to, see how things go. It wasn't 15 years or 12 years ago, Mark Stoops was the hot new thing. We were going to have defenses. Um,
Well, I'm not bashing Stoops.
no,
I'm
no,
just
no, no. I
saying.
agree.
Yeah.
I'm saying that he's the hot new thing. I think we're going to talk about the basketball team here in a second. I don't think the basketball team is in terrible shape, but I agree with you. We're not landing the top recruiting class, and so I think that's the reality. The difference here is with UK football, it used to simply be play good defense, run the football, run that clock as fast as you can, and win ugly. Right? I mean, if we won by 10 points, it was a shocker ever. I mean, even games that were against MAC teams. Stein's reputation is something you like, Craig, in the sense that it is score as many points as you can,
Right.
as much as you can,
Yeah.
attack vertically as much as you can,
A
and make
junior Hal Mummy.
yeah, and make defenses. I think he's going to be better than Al Mummy because he's more controlled and he has defensive coaching there, and make defenses uncomfortable all the time. Now the expectations are the different part, and I think with the basketball team, we had lofty expectations that we were immediately going to be back into the Final Four. We got into the Sweet 16 the first year. Second year wasn't great. We had a lot of injuries those 2 years. Here, I think we're at that honeymoon expectation side, and we've been here before with other coaches.
Yeah, this is make and break year for Pope.
And this is make or break year
Definitely.
for Pope. But Will Stein, we have a very short memory here with this fan base, and so I mean, Will Stein's going to come in with a lot of stuff, and I think it's very probable. In fact, the betting markets all say that UK is likely to go 6-6. If Will Stein goes 6-6 as a fan with 9 SEC games, good on you, buddy. I'll be super happy. I don't know if this fan base who won 10 games a couple times is going to be just okay with winning 6 games every year.
They'll get first-year coach grace.
They will.
From the fan base.
Yeah.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think you're going to have the honeymoon phase. And the football team is on an upswing. You got the top play caller in the country. We didn't get the top basketball coach in the country. Let's just be honest. We didn't. So, we stole Stein, I think Oregon, right? I mean, we stole him from them as their top play caller. So think about all the quarterbacks that he's been recruiting and all the offensive players that he's been talking from Oregon that now all of a sudden he's here. So that helped us out recruiting wise as well.
Yeah, he was the OC at court. He was offensive coordinator at Oregon.
So, I mean, as far as recruiting, he had all those players. He had all that stuff out there. So I do think this is the year. But I'm with Kyle. If he goes 6-6 with 9 SEC games, welcome to the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean,
good on you. I mean, listen, Indiana did it, and they play in the Big Ten. And the Big Ten, I'm just going to say it, the Big Ten has been more competitive and better than the SEC has been over the last 3 or 4 years. So I'm telling you right now that if it can happen at Indiana, one of the worst football programs in the country, it can absolutely happen at Kentucky. So I mean, I just think that is something to look forward to, and the unpredictability nature. I mean, listen, Oregon was a tough out for teams last year, and so I think that's something to look forward to as well.
It's just going to be exciting, and we're going to have fast pace because our basketball players they're big, wide, and fast, and then Stein is recruiting just speed demons across the board.
Yeah,
and we've talked, Kyle, about the offensive line never able to. We've had decent quarterbacks, but they've never had any protection. These quarterbacks are going to have protection this year.
Kenny Minchie is also going to be a really, really good quarterback. I don't think people have any idea who this kid from Notre Dame is going to be, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be phenomenal. And we have 2 or 3 backups for the first time. This guy doesn't work. Okay, we got other guys that can play this, and I think they may play 2 quarterbacks a lot just because they'll be running so much going on. So
and it's going to be a fun football year between UK and Franklin County.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be a Homer City.
It will be. One last story tonight, let's say with the Big Blue Nation, because one of the biggest names in all of college basketball may now come with one of the biggest price tags we've ever seen. And the rumor mill is absolutely exploding tonight. Iowa State star Milan Momcilovic has suddenly become one of the hottest names in college basketball, and now the numbers being discussed around him are eye-popping. According to CBS Sports' Isaac Trotter, reporting that has since been picked up by multiple outlets, Momcilovic could command up to, get this, $6 million in NIL money if he returns to college rather than staying in the NBA draft process. Some reports suggest that under potential eligibility scenarios, his total college earnings could theoretically approach $10 to $12 million. Because remember, he's got 2 years.
Right.
And if you're sitting there thinking $6 million for one college player, you are not alone. Because remember who we're talking about here. Momcilovic averaged almost 17 points per game, shot a blistering 48.7% from three.
That's astounding.
Yeah, earned second team All Big 12 honors as an assassin and became one of the most efficient shooters in the country. Kentucky fans also remember him very well when he put up 20 points and hit 4 threes against the Wildcats in the NCAA tournament. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for Kentucky fans. The chatter surrounding Mark Pope in Kentucky has intensified substantially over the last week. Momcilovic himself recently discussed Kentucky publicly and had this to say, saying, "I think Kentucky would be a good fit." We're the only school that he's come out and actually mentioned, by the way. He specifically pointed towards Pope's offensive style, pushing tempo and creating three-point opportunities, and suggested the Kentucky system could maximize his game. Let's get into the social media and message boards world, what things are saying. Big Blue Nation circles and KSR boards, Reddit discussions, and fan groups are increasingly pushing the idea that Kentucky feels like the natural basketball fit. And a lot of fans are saying, and I think you guys will agree here, pay him whatever it takes. The competing schools right now are, believe it or not, Kansas, St. John's, Florida. I don't think Florida is realistic at this point, and Louisville, with some analysts viewing Kentucky and St. John's now as a especially interesting situation if he returns to college. There is another wrinkle. Some around the NBA draft combine continue to believe he may never reach the point of choosing another college at all. Multiple reports continue to emphasize that Momcilovic's stated priority remains the NBA, and some analysts believe he could stay in the draft process if his feedback remains strong. The uncomfortable reality for college basketball is now we're talking about $6 million per player, and there are very few programs right now who still have $6 million in the bank.
That's why it's got to be. It's got to be Kentucky. It's got to be, and
the street ducks up the street,
right? Yeah, but to continue on with what Momcilovic, is that right? Momcilovic, what he said in that statement was, at Iowa State, he played BYU twice when Pope was there, and they went 1-1. And he said he really liked Coach Pope's style of run it up the floor and shoot a ton of threes.
Yeah.
Well, that was what we did.
Yeah, 48%. The guy loves to shoot. And Pope's style, now that he's getting players that can actually do this, we had one last year. Now we might have about 6 because Cam Williams is back. If we get Momcilovic and the other guards, I mean, it's just going to be it's going to be an amazing year.
I am increasingly believing that Malachi Moreno will be back. I don't think any of the three of us disagree with that. I think he will be back. But Momcilovic is a little different in the sense that he's not one of these guys that's saying it's all about money. It's all about that I have to, wait for the biggest number that comes through. And this guy may never be a lottery pick just because of the type of player that he is. I look at him a lot like a Peja Stojakovic back in the day. He spreads the floor. He's a big guy who can shoot. But he may stay in the draft just because there's, it's the pros are what he's always wanted to do.
He says that again and again.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, you're a pro if you come to Kentucky, right? You're going to be paid more than you're going to be paid in the NBA to start off with.
Yeah, and he won't be a top 10 because apparently he's not a real good defender. But if you shoot 48% from three, who cares? Steph Curry's not a good defender. He's a terrible defender if he even tries it at all. Same thing with James Harden. Those guys are shooters. Yeah. And he goes in at, how tall is he, Kyle? 6'7"?
6'8".
6'8". Okay. You go in that good and you can drop 48% from the three, and wide open as the NBA offenses are, you come back one more year, you get picked in the top 15, you get, instead of $6 million a year, you get guaranteed $8, $9, or $10 million a year for a 4-year contract, get through that, and then the big money hits on your second contract, your post-rookie contract, when now you're paid 20 or 25 million a year. So he can come back for 6 to Kentucky or St. John's or wherever. Get into that top 15 status. Look, this is John. This is where your area of expertise.
Yeah.
And wait back a little bit. You might lose. You will make more money at UK than you will in the NBA. Then you ride your 4 years out. After that one more year of college, same thing with Moreno. Then you get that big post-rookie contract, and you're set for 3 generations.
Well, I think that the interesting thing about this is what we just said is that if you go to Louisville, I don't know there's not enough minutes. There's not enough basketballs to throw out there.
Exactly.
All the guys that they have. There's not enough. There may be a ton of money that gets thrown at you, but at the same time, what does it matter if you're going to sit on the bench and not get 25 minutes a night?
Right.
And then same kind of goes for Florida. They're bringing back their entire team that was
They just brought another guy back today.
Yeah, and so Chinlaru is coming back today. He announced he withdrew from the NBA, but then there's not enough balls to roll out on the court there either. Money may not be a factor there. So I really believe it's kind of down to St. John's and Kentucky. And, do you like Mark Pope style? Do you like Rick Pitino's style? They're very similar in nature. I mean, that he learned under Rick Pitino. So I don't know. I'll say this, and John, you can back me up on this. If you go to St. John's, you're going to pay significantly more in personal income taxes than what you would pay in Lexington, Kentucky. Think about that, young man. If you want to come to college, right, and you want to save yourself millions of dollars, you don't play in New York City. You don't do it. You come to the University of Kentucky, and those state income taxes make a difference. And we need to be harping on that as
Wandale Robinson.
Wandale Robinson is a great example. Going to playing down in Nashville with the Titans, and he's going to save himself $9 to $11 million over the term of that contract just by playing in a different city.
That's all. Yeah,
it's absolutely crazy. There's no difference in the contract language, but he's going to save himself $9 to $11 million by playing in Nashville versus New York.
John, if you were an agent for an NBA player, would you want your player to play in California or New York because of their tax structure?
I wouldn't. I mean, it would. They've got the same tear on their knees, the same tear on their shoulders, but to make more money to do the exact same job, I mean, especially like in California, and and we were talking about Washington State, all those places, to hear the NFL guys lost money to actually go and play a game there. To me, it's just absolutely that doesn't even make sense. And so no, I would definitely tell people, and you're seeing that. People that that they may have a house in that state, but it's their second house. Their main house is now in Florida, Texas, Tennessee. Right. That's where they're domiciled. They may own a house still in California, sure, but they're not. That's not where they live. That's where their tax structure is. So, it makes a difference.
LeBron makes $60 million, and Kyle and I were talking about this yesterday.
35 million of it goes to this.
Yeah, he loses 60% of that to taxes because half the games he plays in LA, then he's got the Clippers and Golden State and Portland to play those games in, and then I guess they'll play the Knicks once a year on around Christmas or something. So he is losing so much money. I just and the NBA players are now publicly starting to talk about that, how many millions are losing to taxes in these high-tech states, and they're saying, no, we don't want to go there. And like Luka, he's already talking about leaving California to go anywhere else, leaving the Lakers to go anywhere else, not to win or lose, but to get some money.
That's why we said the sports teams in Florida and Texas and Tennessee are all of a sudden going to become very, very popular places to go play.
Absolutely.
Because these guys are like, I'm going to make the same amount of money. And if all the good guys go to these places, Oklahoma, places like that, you're looking at real wealth right there that you're saving.
Yeah, the top of the NBA for the next 8 to 10 years is OKC, San Antonio, and Houston. Those are going to be the three main teams down the road because they're all young. And
I would throw in there that you're going to have Miami and Orlando. And
I'm just talking about the ones that exist today.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that those teams will start to get very good as well.
Oh, hey, yes, they will. They'll start getting superstars down there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Anything you guys want to add before we hop out of here tonight?
John,
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me back in. I really appreciate it.
John, thanks for joining us.
Promote something you're doing, John.
Yeah.
Opportunity.
Tell us about the Humane Society. How can people help with the Humane Society?
Sure. So the Humane Society, it's a great place. It really is. We have a new facility. If you haven't seen the new facility, please go by. See it on Companion Place Drive. It's a great thing. Most of the thing we have in the community right now, we have our spay neuter clinics. We have stuff like that. Just look on the website. You can always look to see what animals we have on there. It's great. Plus, and of course, if make sure you vote in November. Should always vote in November.
That's right.
That's one thing. Regardless if you vote or not, and I would prefer if you voted for me if you're in the 5th district.
That's right.
But at a minimum, go out and vote. It's your constitutional right. You should vote.
5th District Magistrate in Franklin County. Make sure you get out and vote. We talked about that earlier.
My district.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier tonight. There's a lot of people who didn't vote in the primary for all of their own reasons, but go out there and vote and make sure that you exercise that right. One last thing, a lot of people are making comments. Rest in peace, Kyle Busch, and
I got one more thing
to that family as well. Yeah, Craig.
What number of days could Kentucky change? University of Kentucky basketball. How many days till our future could change? 6.
Oh, it's 6 days. We are
6 days.
6 days. 6 days and 6 hours.
Yeah, till was it 11:59 on the 27th?
Yeah, 11:59 on.
That's coming up quick, and that was the first thing I thought about this morning. We're another day closer, and I grabbed my phone up while I was in bed, and looked for the sports stuff to see if there were any announcements.
I will tell you now that you're seeing guys like Chinrilu and those guys pulling out. They will not wait until next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So if there's news that comes across our phone. Or we get any messages, we will hop on and let you know.
Florida is loaded.
Yeah, Florida's going to be
right. Brian Bolliard is Florida loaded. This guy keeps sending me Florida stuff.
Let's hope that their coach decides to go somewhere else and isn't there. So
it's just it's going to be an exciting time for the next 6 days.
It will.
For UK fans.
We will keep you all posted as well. That's going to do it for us tonight. We covered a lot of ground, from major political controversies and fallout across the country to federal fraud investigations, global health concerns, and then a deep dive into what's becoming a fascinating summer for Big Blue Nation with Kentucky football, recruiting heating up, and the latest twists in UK basketball. As always, the headlines move fast, the narratives change even faster, and our goal is to cut through all of that noise and give you the facts, the context, and the conversations between the stories. A huge thank you to our friend John Hibbard. Thank you for coming on and joining us. I hope you make it a regular occurrence. It's always fun to have a third voice, not just me and Craig in our echo chamber talking back and forth, shouting into the wind. Make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the stream, and make sure you click on that little bell notification as well, so you can be notified every time we're about to go live. And we will try to keep all of the information above just the headlines. Drop your thoughts in the comments about anything that we talked about tonight. Can Kentucky football take a step forward under Will Stein? Would you pay Milan Momcilovic $6 million? And who should become the next AD at Kentucky, along with all of the news stories that we talked about? We always love hearing from Big Blue Nation and from all of you across the country about all of these news stories. So until next time, stay informed, stay sharp, stay above the noise. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.
Okay, let's go.